Just explain about ghost children. What's actually happened to these children, and how many are we talking about?
Well, we were all so concentrated on the elderly during the pandemic, and nobody sort of thought, well, how are the children going to cope with all of this? Nobody focused on them. And in fact, even though schools have reopened, an awful lot have gone missing. Now, in 2019, about 60,000 children were out of school more often than in, which is bad enough. A year ago, when I first started looking at this, it was 100,000. And now, even though schools have reopened, and you'd think, children would be skipping back into school, it's now risen to 140,000 children spend more time out of school than in. And a shocking 2 million have not got good attendance. They're sort of just not...
I mean, people talk about that social contract has been broken well and true, so we might come in, we might not. We take Fridays off now because our parents are off, so all of this has
Do we know what they're doing, though, these children? Do we? I mean, are they out causing mischief? Are they just at home playing on computer?
Well, both. I mean, this is what's, I think, very interesting, because it seems to divide roughly in two, that there are certain children who just will not come out of their bedrooms. They just sort of sit in their bedrooms. And there are other children that you can't get off the streets. They've gone and started doing gangs and drug dealing and whatever.
And you've interviewed these children?
Yes, I've interviewed a lot of these children. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
I was going to ask you that. What were they saying to you? How have they polarised?
Well, one of the boys I interviewed, who actually was going to a pretty good sort of school in a leafy suburb of London, he described to me in great detail really how he fell apart. I mean, this was a competitive, articulate, bright boy from dedicated parents, and he started lockdown quite happily, and where it began to disintegrate for him is when he did his homework and none of the teachers marked his work. He was sending in his work religiously and nobody marked it. And he said, what is the point of me competing if I'm not having my homework marked?
So he would have been a high flyer and it had the reverse effect.
So that's an interesting point, because I was wondering, who are these children? Do they come from a certain, demographic background? Are they do they tend to be, poorer children from poorer... But from what you're saying, this could be happening across all sections of society.
Yes, it's happening across all, because there's, the usual vulnerable children who are, for example, children on free school meals are twice as likely to have dropped out than their sort of middle-class contemporaries. Children from disadvantaged backgrounds, they and children at... pupil referral units. They have all dropped out. But also, I mean, one teacher, she teaches in a very nice, outstanding Ofsted-rated school in a suburb, again, another leafy suburb. And she said that the mental health issues in her girls, it's an all-girls school, is just off the wall.
Well, who was checking what the schools were doing? And surely the trade unions must have some answering to do for here. They were the ones wanting to close the school and say protect the teachers, and nobody really thought about the children. And people were speaking at the time saying we can't have lockdown for children. People were coming out. People like Professor Sue Townsend, Us for Them as children's group, and they ignored them.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, the teachers' unions have a lot to answer for, because I think we can all remember the level of hysteria from the teachers' unions, the pressure they put on in newspapers, on the government. And actually, the government, I think, made a big mistake. They conflated the teachers' unions with the interests of the children.
You've called them the ghost children. Are these children now lost forever? Have we got a generation of children now that we've let down and we can't get back into school, back onto the straight and narrow, help them with the jobs and the prospects? Well,
it seems like it, because the numbers are going up. I mean, when I looked at it last year, it was 100,000, and it's gone up to 140,000. And the other really worrying thing, because I interviewed a lot of women who had babies at this time and what they went through. And a lot of the teachers complained that, children were turning up at 4 in nappies, didn't know how to put their coat up on the hook.
Couldn't eat
with
a knife and fork.
But there is a
socialise.
reason for this. It's because these poor mothers were just totally abandoned by all the normal services. You didn't have health visitors. You had nothing. And you had mothers sort of very tense, anxious and isolated. And this has had a huge impact on these kids.
Harriet Sergeant, thank you so much. As Philip said there, it's a big double page in the Mail today. You can read more about those ghost children, and I'm quite sure our viewers will have a lot of comments on this as well. Thank you.